The most successful companies on earth that I've worked with, they design the future they would like to have. Whether you're a high-performing team in business, sports, or in the military, if you could learn what I learned and create a model around it, you could do anything.
Jim Murphy has over 1,000 hours of flight time as an F-15 pilot and F-15 instructor pilot.
It is a big leap to go from a farm boy to a fighter pilot in just 16 months.
In business, he's an 11-time Inc. 500 5000 winner and a Forbes Small Giant.
I think that's pretty special.
He is considered by many of the world's top CEOs as the go-to thought leader and author in organizational execution. There's not a better person to bring an agile mindset and best practices to help your team execute.
So it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage Jim Murphy.
You know, for the last 25 years, I've been helping companies and their leaders execute at the highest levels in some of the toughest situations you can imagine. One thing I've learned for sure, as leaders, we're having a hard time. It's tough out there. It's what we call as fighter pilots a VUCA environment. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, and there's a lot of ambiguity out there. All of this centers around one thing and one thing only, and that's the word execution.
When you're working on sort of big picture things where the goal is a little further out in the distance, it's easy to drag your feet.
When we're constantly executing from one objective to the next, we're missing opportunities in that way.
We're expected to execute at the same or higher level every single day. So how do we get through this? How do we execute at a high level? First, it's the details of the future.
We don't know what you want unless you know what you want. And that's not to be number one or to improve or to make more money. We're talking about specifics. What's pulling you to make the new right decisions? To not be satisfied with the status quo, always being pulled into the future.
Once you understand what the future is all about, once you have your HDD or your higher order strategy, it's all about your team's focus. Unequivocal focus on what we call a mission objective.
It's not about the receivable necessarily, it's about the bottom line revenue, the value. And it might even be about conversion or utilization rates increasing as well.
The mission objective is critical, and so is the planning process. But how many of you have ever seen the perfect plan? Before you go fly, you want to make sure you bring in the red team.
So in the military, I learned you bring in a red team before you go fly the mission, get the plan in front of the red team, have the red team tear it apart before you finalize the plan.
The complexity is bombarding us from every direction. So how will your team execute while being task saturated?
Task saturation is so important that we service marked the term in business and protected it and defined it. Task saturation is the perception or the reality of having too much to do with not enough time, tools, or resources to get the mission at hand accomplished.
In today's fast-paced environment, you have to stay at the same rate of change or slightly ahead of it. You can't do that unless your team is truly agile, and it starts with debriefing in a nameless, rankless environment.
We want truth versus artificial harmony, and we're going to take the lessons learned from that debrief and roll it right back into the next day's plan. Plan, brief, execute, debrief. Execution levels get tighter and tighter and tighter, and you win. That's it. That's organizational execution from A to Z. Thank you very much. Have a great meeting. Thank you.
What's the longer purpose? I mean, how do we pull or compel people into the future? Because pushing people isn't working anymore. As a fighter pilot, I've learned that simplicity beats complexity every single time. Hey, I can't wait to get in front of your team to help you accelerate your team's mission, help you catapult and align into your new future.